At least the case is pretty much solved with that. Almost. Epilogue. Catastrophe. I say it's almost solved. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much solved. There are still some things that need to be tied up, but we'll see what that is very soon. 2 frenetic weeks have passed. The wounds Toji and I sustained didn't end up being as serious as they initially appeared. The doctors said that all the bullets passed clean through and there was very little damage to my internal organs. I guess that's why I was able to move so well. In fact, the bruises Toji received all over her body were far more serious and would take quite a while to heal. However, all our injuries pale in comparison to Kazuna's. Oh, fuck. Now she's blind. Man, the irony. Now she's the blind one. That's pretty fucking crazy. The eye wounds she got from Aqua were deep, and for a period of time, they were worried that the area near her brain would get infected. Fortunately, her surgery was a success, and it looks like she won't end up losing her eyesight. Well, that's also rather fortunate. Holy shit. I thought she was going to be you know, like, if you hadn't played Kara no Shoujo afterwards, you'd think that she'd be, or before this game, or if I hadn't played it before this game, I would have thought that she was permanently blind. Kazuna was discharged from the hospital to get some rest at home, but she still hasn't opened her eyes. With troubled expressions on their faces, the doctors had explained, "We're pretty much at a complete loss. Her mind's received such a huge shock that it refuses to let her open her eyes." Oh. Well, there's that too. Kazuna. Oh. Shugo-san. Upon hearing my voice, Kazuna's face lifts slightly, and the edges of her mouth softens a bit. So you're here again today. I can't really see her face behind all the bandages wrapped around her eyes. Despite that, I get a reassuring vibe from her. Yeah. I nod, then take a seat in a chair next to her bed. Kazuna faces the direction my voice comes from, a faint smile playing about her lips. Is a guy like me really someone she can depend on? In any case, a lot of tragedies have befallen us in this short window of time. To Kazuna, as well as the people around us, it's pretty obvious that she needs people around to support her. That's why I force myself to sound cheerful and say, "How are you feeling? Everything fine?" Yeah. Do you want to eat something? I remember you saying you didn't really have an appetite yesterday. No, not really. That's too bad. I bought some goodies for you today, too. Kazuna sounds somewhat troubled. I take a look at the table next to us. There's a mountain of assorted fruits piled up on there that haven't even been touched. Well, whatever. I pull out today's sweets and leave them on top of the table. Hey, did you know, Kazuna? These are called half-killed. They had a ton of them in the gift shop in front of the station, so I bought some. They're actually kind of a specialty around here. Don't worry. I didn't get them to make fun of the condition Toji and I have been in for the last half month or anything. It'd make me happy if you would go ahead and laugh or something. Kazuna's at a loss for words. Kazuna, I let out a small sigh and continue. You still can't remember anything? Yeah. Oh, fuck, she has amnesia? Jesus. She nods, her shoulders slumped in despair. I guess this is also one of the after effects of the murders. All the memories Kazuna had from around the time she was kidnapped by Akko have completely vanished. Oh, well, at least those are... I thought everything was gone. I've just been spacing out the whole time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being a burden to you, Shugo-san. I quickly search for the words to soothe Kazuna, as she's looking pretty sad at the moment. Nah, there's no need to rush. Just take things at your own pace and try to remember. The worst is behind us now, anyhow. Well, so you think. After conversing for a while, Kazuna tells me she's tired and lies down. I remain seated at her bedside, looking into her bandage-swathed face. Her fatigue must be contagious, because my mind's feeling pretty fuzzy as well. I can hear Kazuna breathing in and out at regular intervals. It looks like she's fallen asleep. The breeze coming in from the window ruffles her bangs. Even though it's practically spring, the outside air remains quite chilly. I stand up quietly and close the half-opened window. Extending my hand toward her forehead, I rearrange Kazuna's hair. She's still breathing peacefully. After watching her for a little while longer, I exit the room. I realize that the wide-open hallways of the Koziki Manor are completely silent. All I can hear is the lonely-sounding rattling of the windows. The place has been like this ever since I started visiting a week ago. It's a cold, dead, empty house. I feel as though it's completely cut off from the daily hustle and bustle of the world. Why on earth did Kazuna want to recover in a place like this? I thought it'd be a burden to my mother if I stayed at her place in Kanda. is how she explained it to me, but I just can't picture the Kozuki estate as a very comfortable place to live. Besides, the bad blood between the Kozukis has become a major part of this tragedy. Kozuki Ryoko has severed her ties with the Kozuki family, causing her ex-husband Keiichiro to sink into depression. He now spends his days between his own room and his daughter's, hardly ever showing up to work. When we run into each other, there's no sign of his former arrogance. Instead, Keiichiro averts his eyes and walks away. Jesus. That guy should be on fucking suicide watch. The servants hold their breath and go about their daily chores as though nothing happened. I suppose it's inevitable. After all, the tragedy has only just passed. It'll probably take some time for the people who were involved to return to a normal state of mind. Of course, that includes me as well. As I walk through the eerily silent hallways, my mind wanders back to the events of 2 weeks ago. Senri, the organization that had committed that series of bizarre murders, underwent a complete collapse following the deaths of Arashima-san and Akuo. It was proof positive of the dark ties between the top brass of the police and the fledgling cult. Following the closure of the case, those headlines were the talk of the town, but not even a week later they had already started slipping out of people's minds. Senri's devoted followers were forcibly awakened to reality and returned to their normal lives after witnessing their main temple go up in flames. The stand-in leader, Yura's body double, had escaped. Her whereabouts are still unknown. The police have been trying to track her down, but as of yet they haven't gotten any leads. Furthermore, the body of the true leader, Kozuki Yura, was discovered in the mountains behind the compound, just as Shigusa Tokiko had testified. Since a few months had passed since she was buried, her corpse had started to decompose. Keiichiro, who had to go to verify that it was really her, came close to vomiting several times. Or was it her? Well, we already know from the normal ending it probably isn't her. I, on the other hand, chose not to go. Deep in the recesses of a second-floor hallway, there exists a room it looks like nobody ever visits. Indeed, it's the room Yura was formerly locked up in. Light streams in from between the cracks of the boarded-up windows. Dust motes hang in the air. Apparently, it was used as some sort of storage room before they imprisoned Yura inside. It's a bleak, desolate room. I sit on the filthy bed in the corner and reminisce about Yura. I'd like you to search for my daughter, Yura. Come to think of it, Kozuki Keiichiro's search request was what got me involved in this whole mess. Even after I learned it was all a sham, I felt some invisible force compelling me to continue my search for Yura. Well, that, and Kazuna begged me to. Besides, I harbored a desire to meet Yura one last time. I wanted to see her and finally apologize for hurting her. However, well, I guess that won't be happening. Yura had already been murdered by the time I had found a lead. Hell, even Kazuna barely escaped the same fate. I wonder what my role in this whole fiasco ended up being. Akuo Akuma committed several murders because of me. Yura, twisted by the flames of jealousy burning deep within, had ordered Akuo to murder all those girls. If that's really how things happened, it lays a heavy burden upon my heart. People who should not have died were forced to their doom. I hurt people who I should not have hurt. All this happened because I got involved. Despite all that's happened, Kazuna still needs me. When I went to visit her 1 week ago, Shugo-san. Kazuna had started sobbing after hearing my voice. Tears dripped out from under the thick swath of bandages. I'm so happy to see you again. Thank goodness you're alive. Redemption. My regret and guilt will stay with me forever, but saving her life made me feel like I made a difference somehow. I have to support Kazuna and be her new eyes. If that lets me atone for all I've done, then... Suddenly, I hear... Huh? The sound of steps approaching. Who could it be? The servants never come near Yura's room. Even Keiichiro has cooped himself up in his room these last few days, giving no indication that he's likely to come out. The only possibility left is Kazuna, who I just left sleeping inside her room. Uh-oh. Is it who I think it is? Before long, the footsteps stop in front of the room. Oh, no, fuck, not you. I was starting to like that you were gone. Go away again, please. Well, well, what a coincidence, Shugo. Didn't expect to meet you here of all places. What the... Who the fuck let her in? As I'm fumbling for what to say, Nana walks into the room as though she owns the place and starts rummaging through drawers on the shelves and desk. What the hell are you doing here? I can't believe you would just waltz into somebody's room without permission. I can. Huh? Don't worry. I talked to the master of the house already. Don't mind me. Just go ahead and keep acting shocked. She keeps digging through things without even sparing so much as a glance for me. That guy actually gave you permission? Do you actually know Mr. Kozuki? Nope. First time I've ever met him. Then how? Well, I heard about how temperamental he can be. I prepared a letter of introduction from the mayor. Let me tell you, he was ever so welcoming once he saw that. The mayor? Of course, it's a forgery. No need for you to worry yourself. It's very, very well made, so I don't think you'll figure it out. I can't believe you. Can you even call that getting permission? Before I have time to even voice my doubts, Nana quickly changes the subject. Man, it's been a while since I've laid eyes on you, Shugo. I really wanted to come visit you sooner, but I've been busy with my own things. I visited someone I knew at the home ministry, checked into detox for drug overdose. Man, those were some crazy days. Drug overdose? I can hardly contain my shock. I knew you'd fall prey to some weird drug habit one day. It's no surprise, given her typical lifestyle. I can think of a lot of opportunities for something like that to happen. How disgracefully presumptuous of you. I wasn't the one who had to be hospitalized. As she continues to ransack the shelves, Nana scoffs at me. But from what I heard, a lot of terrible things happened to you. My condolences. I'm pretty much fine. The real problem is with Kazuna, who's lost her vision. Ah, her. That's rather terrible, but I think she got what she deserved. I can't find it in myself to feel pity for her. What did you say? Startled, I look up into Nana's face. But since you're so naive, you probably think you have to support her and be her eyes, right? Man, you're such a damn softie. Whoa, I nearly threw up there. Nana guffaws. Man, somebody's just gonna beat the shit out of her one day. It's like, I don't care if you're a woman. I'm just gonna fucking deck you in the face. Nana, I can't let this slide. Kazuna's a victim only because she got roped into this mess, not because she wanted to be. Do you realize what you're saying right now? Holding my anger in check, I glare at Nana. Depending on her answer, she may or may not have to pay for what she said. However, Shugo, you're the one who doesn't understand. It's about time you opened your eyes. Wait a minute. Oh shit. Oh shit. I just thought of something. I just actually, because it's been a while since I played this, I just remembered the plot twist here. I'm not going to say it, but I think you guys can probably figure it out since I just said there was a plot twist. She stops rummaging around and looks straight at me. It's almost like she's pitying me. What? I guess it might sound a bit cruel to you, but since it looks like you don't want to open your eyes, she resumes her search. This time around, she looks inside a writing desk that's been left in the corner of the room. She starts speaking in a matter-of-fact tone while rooting through drawers. Just shut up and watch. I just can't hold back when I see you obsessing over a dead girl. Besides, manipulating you is a special privilege that only belongs to me. I'm not going to let someone just snatch that away. Yeah, hint hint nudge nudge. Nana suddenly stops and exclaims. Aha! Found it! She whirls around, holding a tattered old notebook in her hand. Man, oh man, I'm lucky that I left this room as it was. Oh, by the way, this notebook belongs to Kozuki Yura. It's her diary. Yura's diary? Nana opens it up and shows it to me. The page is virtually packed with slender characters. Finding this means I've gotten all the data I need. It's the final piece of the puzzle to solving this whole deluded crazy tragedy. Nana grins as she hoists up the filthy notebook in triumph. Let's go, Shugo. I think it's about time we put an end to this twisted tale of love. Oh boy. 10 minutes later, we're all assembled in Kazuna's room. Kazuna and Keiichiro both wear suspicious looks on their faces. I'm not surprised. Hell, even I have no idea what Nana's planning. However, Nana just stands next to the door, grinning. It doesn't look like she's about to start talking anytime soon. I sidle up to her and whisper, Hey, Nana, I don't know what you're trying to pull here, but how about moving things along, huh? Kazuna still hasn't recovered fully. We can't let you pull her along with you on your little whims. Just wait a bit longer, will you? She should arrive soon. What? Our star today. She's not fully recovered either, and she started to feel a bit under the weather on the way over. I left her with the chaperone and went on ahead. They should be here any second now. The star. When I hear Nana say those words, a vague sense of doubt starts growing in my heart. It's somebody you know very well. I don't know if you'll be happy to see her, but... Hey, you! Keiichiro butts in, evidently tired of waiting. I let you in because you said you wanted to take a look at the mansion, and yet you rudely invite yourself into my daughter's room. What the hell are you trying to do here? He glares at Nana irritatedly. Unfazed, Nana laughs and says, My apologies. You know how the letter said your mansion had some kind of cultural value? I made it all up. I actually came here in order to see your daughter face to face. Wow, she just admitted to his face that she was just lying the whole time. She giggles and scratches her head in embarrassment. Yeah, I'm sure she's real embarrassed. What? After overcoming its shock, Keiichiro turns to me and says, Takashiro-kun, what's going on here? Do you know this crazy girl? I'm not sure what to say. No matter how I reply, I'll end up exposing my family's shame. Man, this sucks. While I'm struggling to find the right words, the object of my shame puts on a triumphant expression and steps forward. How rude of me. I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? My name is Takashiro Nana, and I'm Shugo's beloved little sister. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I'm so glad she doesn't show up in the Carno Shoujo games. At least I hope she's not in the second one. Please don't be in the second game. After shaking hands with the confused-looking Keiichiro, Nana turns to Kazuna and says, Nice to meet you too, miss. I'm Takashiro Nana. My, what a lucky day it is today. She introduces herself in a theatrical manner. Nana-san? Kazuna's voice takes on a hint of bewilderment. A sharp twinge suddenly shoots through my brain. Despite the pain, I smile as I say, Oh, come on, stop it with the lame jokes. It's Kazuna. You guys used to get along really well. I've got a bad feeling about this. I pray that Nana's just making another one of her lame jokes. However, she replies coolly. Well, I've heard quite a lot about you, so it doesn't feel like it's my first time seeing you. But this is definitely the first time we've met. She faces Kazuna and smiles. Right? Kozuki Yuro-kun? Yep. What a twist! What? I actually forgot all about this. Time seems to freeze. I can't believe what I've just heard, but it lends some credence to the seed of doubt I've had growing in the very back of my mind. When Kazuna came back to the Kozuki estate, something about her had changed. I just didn't want to admit it. I will admit, she does her sister's voice fairly well. She can pull off a pretty good imitation of her voice and her, well, maybe not her mannerisms, but mostly her voice. The very thought of even considering I had made some kind of mistake made me nauseous. It would have meant that the absolute worst possible thing had happened. That's why, since she called herself Kazuna, I just blindly swallowed it as correct and refused to allow myself to think otherwise. Yeah, your whole detective mentality went away, didn't it? I was just averting my eyes from the truth. However, she just smiles back at me. The ringing in my ears is deafening. I just stand there speechless and slack-jawed, staring at Kazuna. Well, you mean not Kazuna. What? The first person to respond is Keiichiro. That's ridiculous! Yuro's dead. There's no way this girl could be her, right? Right, Kazuna? Keiichiro's voice is shrill and tense. I realized immediately upon hearing his voice. Keiichiro had felt that something was not right as well. He probably tried to hide his doubts and treat Kazuna with deliberate kindness. Yes, father. She keeps on smiling. I'm Kazuna. Nana-san's probably made some kind of mistake. Nana flashes a wry grin after hearing those words. Well, flat out denying it is pretty weak, in my opinion. Now what should we do? Then, a knocking sound suddenly echoes around the room. Oh, what impeccable timing. I wonder if that's our star arriving. Nana opens the door to welcome the sudden visitor. The person who enters the room is none other than Toji, wearing her typical grumpy look. What the? You're the star? I recall Toji being discharged from the hospital earlier than me. But why is she here with Nana? No, I'm just a chaperone. She points to Nana and says, This weirdo asked me to act as a bodyguard. And what a splendid job you've done, Toji-kun. How's she doing? She felt better after a brief rest, but she's really exhausted. I don't want to push her too hard. Nana bobs her head in agreement. Yeah, she's still recovering and all. I guess we should get this over with as quickly as possible. Unable to contain myself any longer, I butt into their conversation. Nana, are you saying that this girl you're referring to is... Nana puts on a beaming smile. That's right. I'm pretty sure she's exactly who you think she is. Nana swings the door wide open completely and addresses the girl standing there. Come on in. Everybody's been waiting for you. Ah, sure. There's the sound of soft footsteps approaching. With no further ado, let me introduce a friend of mine. With a theatrical flourish, Nana proclaims, The real Kozuki Kazuna-kun. Holy fuck. That was, yeah, when I first read this, I was like, God damn, that was pretty clever, actually. I really actually didn't think of that, even though I probably should have. As we stand there, stunned, she looks us each in the face and says with some trepidation, "Sis, is that you?" She directs the question toward the girl sitting on the bed, whose face is a mirror image of her own. She looks somewhat exhausted and shaken, but those are the warm, honest eyes of the woman I had sworn an oath to protect. I guess her eyes are fine. Unless... Wait a minute. No, that can't be. Well, it's possible. Unless the switch took place from the beginning and she was actually the one in the room. And if she was the one in the room, then where the hell was Kazna? I don't know when this happened, so I can't be too sure. There's no mistake. The person who's shown up with Nana is undoubtedly Kozuki Kazna. Which means... I turn around and look at Yura. Due to the thick bandages hiding her face, I can't see what kind of expression she's making. Once again, silence descends upon the room. "That's right, Shugo." Nana's sonorous voice breaks the ice. "She's the woman who's risen from the grave, the ghost from your past, Kozuki Yura." Everybody turns their eyes to Yura. However, she just smiles in response. "Hold it, Nana. Her words don't make sense to me. The situation's already passed beyond the realm of my comprehension. So the person I rescued from Senri was actually Yura? Why on earth is Kazna with you then?" "Sheesh, you're such a blockhead. Isn't it obvious? On that day 2 weeks ago, I saved Kazna-kun." Nana says it as though it's perfectly obvious. "Besides, you're the one who was slow on the uptake. In the evening, Kazna-kun had already been carried out of the cult headquarters by a horse-drawn carriage. They sedated her so she wouldn't put up a fight. They were probably going to bury her somewhere in the mountains. I spotted them since I was staking out Senri, and ended up getting in a scuffle with those crazy cultists. Man, they were awful. 3 of them ganged up on me, a weak little schoolgirl, though they weren't much of a match for my Bartetsu skills. When I saved her, Kazuna-kun had been heavily drugged, so it looked like she wouldn't be regaining consciousness for a while." So it did. Yura was the person we rescued. God damn. Yeah, I was fooled too. She looks exactly like her. Wow, so I guess we actually have our sister, we have to thank our sister for once. Actually, we do admittedly have to thank her for quite a bit. She might be fucking absolutely insane, but her detective skills are pretty on point. Kazna nods silently. "That means What the hell had I seen?" My legs start to tremble. What I had believed to be the truth is suddenly changing into something else altogether. "Nah, I think you did the right thing. You're the one that ended up exposing Inspector Arashima's crimes, though." She points over to Yura. "In any case, it looks like she was able to achieve her goal. I'm sure she probably calculated Inspector Arashima's failure into her plans. No matter what the outcome, she would be able to get what she desired." Kazna stares at her sister silently. How did she fake her own eyes bleeding like that, though? They said that they did surgery on her eyes and all that. I mean, she was already blind, so what exactly did that surgery accomplish? Her goal? That's right. To tell the truth, she nearly pulled it off. Man, she put on a pretty good show. "Sis!" At that moment, Kazna suddenly speaks up. "You wanted to kill me, didn't you?" "Of course I do." Yura just smiles in response. "Ridiculous! Why would Yura want to..." "How disgraceful, Shugo. Please refrain from shouting so loudly." Nana cuts off my indignant cry with a sigh. "Let me break it down for you. 2 people cannot sit in the same chair. In order to live as Kozuki Kazna, she would have to make the real one disappear. That's why she ordered her followers to kill off Kazna by pretending it was a directive from Akuo or something. She knew that Inspector Arashima was going to destroy the church. Yura planned to use the confusion that followed to change places with Kazuna-kun. It's impressive how you were able to walk the line between Akuo Akuma's madness and Arashima's calculating nature without anyone realizing that you were using them to carry out your own delusions. But it's such a shame. You killed my friend, and what's more, you're trying to get your hands on my brother." Man, Nana is the real MVP. "I'm not going to let you get away with this," Nana declares, a smile on her face. However, Yura's face doesn't so much as budge. Nana bursts into a fit of laughter after seeing that. "Oh, by the way, I have a question for you, Kozuki Yura-kun. Those 2 girls you used as servants, were you the one who killed them?" The 2 murdered girls. She must be referring to Koyuki and Seri, who were found dead in the training facility. Since they were attached to you, they didn't leave the cult as Alko ordered. But then Shugo and Toji-kun showed up. You were afraid they'd reveal the fact that you were the leader, so you... Oh. So that was, that wasn't her, that was... Or that wasn't Alko either, that was her, I think, or... Well, I guess she ordered somebody to do it. Maybe that was Alko. Well, I gather that's how things played out, is that correct? You're going to play innocent to the bitter end, huh? Well, that leaves us in an awkward situation. If you repent and confess all your crimes, then you'll save me a bit of trouble. Nana-san, you surely must be making some sort of mistake. Yura suddenly speaks up. Her voice conveys a tone of gentle admonishment. I'm Kozuki Kazuma. I have absolutely no memory of ever killing anybody, she says with a smile on her face. Sis! Why are you doing this? I've been searching for you this whole time. And now we finally get to meet. There's no response from Yura. It's as though she's completely ignoring the fact that Kazuma exists. Ah, I see what's going on here. Looks like it's time for me to step in. To be perfectly honest, it's not as though I don't enjoy doing this sort of thing. So, our first question is, why is Yura-kun so stubbornly insistent about changing places with Kazuna-kun? Nana turns to face Keiichiro, who's standing in the corner of the room. Well, hell if I know. You should know the reason for that, Kozuki-san, right? What? Why the hell would I? Keiichiro has been dazed and spacing out ever since Kazuna arrived. You can hear how confused he sounds after Nana suddenly fires off a question at him. The cursed child. Wasn't Yura-kun called something similar to that by the other villagers when she was young? After you caught wind of those rumors, you had Yura-kun imprisoned inside this mansion. That's nothing but a baseless rumor. I have no knowledge of ever doing that. This has absolutely nothing to do with me. Oh, you're going to deny it? Last month, I went around and asked every family living in this area. What? Nana licks her lips, so that's what she was doing when Kazuna and I ran into her 2 weeks ago in Zushi. According to them, the Kozuki family stole a hermit's treasure and became fabulously wealthy. But as a result, an everlasting curse was placed on them. Due to that, one of the Kozuki children is born with a cursed mark. This is ridiculous. In this age of science, curses are nothing but some absurd fabrication of... Exactly right. Ridiculous. Curses don't exist. If you only had ignored those rumors, then this whole fiasco wouldn't have happened. But you, just like all the other villagers, believed the rumors, and were afraid of Yura-kun's mark. Curses originally held the same value to those who gave and received them. The hermit's legend was probably something akin to jealousy toward the Kozuki family, who had worked in the forestry business. Just recently, another family in the same situation as mine became rich overnight. Why did they get rich while my own family remains poor? That sort of jealousy gave rise to the legend of the family who stole a hermit's treasure and got cursed. It let the other villagers justify shunning them. Father, Kazuna asks with some trepidation, is that true? However, Keiichiro remains silent, his face becoming stiff. Nana answers the question in his place. Kazuna-kun, you were already in Tokyo by then, so it's understandable that you didn't know. That being said, this is all true. The head of the Kozuki family valued his family's appearance in the eyes of society above all else, so he chose to hide the mark rather than defy the rumors. The more you try and shut down a rumor, the more credibility you give it. Even though he knew that, he chose to conform to society. His choice led to this calamity. Father... Don't look at me like that. I didn't do anything wrong. You have no reason to blame me. I don't think there's any other choice here. Nana looks at Keiichiro, a wry smile on her lips. And the man who showed up after getting wind of those rumors was Narahashi Kazuma, later known as Inspector Arashima. The self-centered actions you took to try and protect yourself are directly tied to those two starring roles in this tragedy. Man, this is almost exactly like near the end of Garno Shoujo, where everybody's basically gathered together and, you know, that after you find out all their involvements in the case, and you basically just expose everything. At a loss for words, all Keiichiro can do is glare back at Nana. She takes it all in stride and continues. Oh, by the way, Shugo, did you ever look into Inspector Arashima's research organization? Nope. I shake my head. Between Takako-chan's death and Shigeru's to Tokyo, I didn't have much time to look into stuff like that. Don't tell me that you even looked into that. And that's why I made some connections in the Home Ministry. The Home Ministry? How the hell did you get to know people in there? I used my powers of seduction. Oh, come on, I was joking. Enough with that scornful look. She laughs and shrugs. Right. Phew, what a relief. I guess she does have at least some common sense in her. Actually, one of the girls in my grade happened to be dating one of the top officials in the ministry. After I got some photos of them there, for some reason he was willing to do anything I asked of him. Man, oh man, there are some really kind people in this world. Damn. She's an expert at blackmail, I see. What she's describing is blackmail, plain and simple. I'm flabbergasted. The stuff Nana does is so crazy, it's not even within the realm of common sense. That's a pretty good way to put it. My labors resulted in this report. She's produced a sheaf of documents from somewhere. I don't understand all these technical descriptions either, and explaining everything would take too long, so let's just leave that stuff out. Nana continues to talk as she flips through the documents. Curious, I take a peek at the papers, only to find them covered with weird squiggles. They're all written in English. They stimulated the brains of children with special talents to try and develop hidden abilities latent within human beings. People weren't too concerned with the ethical side of things during the war. They carried out horrible experiments under the pretense of potential military applications. What about you, Yura-kun? Did you experience this kind of stuff? The burning curiosity on Nana's face is plain to see as she asks the question. However, Yura says nothing in reply. Even though we're discussing her own past, she doesn't even seem to show any reaction. Ah, you're so heartless, Yura-kun. Perhaps you simply hate me. Nana pauses to think for a moment, then continues. Oh well, nothing I can do about that. A person who loves killing so much is probably not going to be very pleasant anyway. Nana lets out a wicked-sounding cackle. Hold it, Nana. Nana ignores me as I'm about to deliver a rebuke. Anyway, according to the research facility, they had some marginal success with her. That being said, it was rather shady research to begin with. None of their results are really worth mentioning. Nana-san, oh, what do you mean results? Kazuna wears a look of intense seriousness on her face. Nana flashes a creepy smile and replies. Kazuna-kun, what do you think they were? I have no idea. Oh, come on, Nana, don't start acting all pretentious now. I have no idea what goes on inside your head. Though I say that in an exasperated manner, Nana jumps at my words. That's exactly it, Shugo. Nobody knows what's going on inside other people's heads, correct? And that's where her ability comes in handy. She can read people's minds by touching their bodies. It's telepathy. What? Our conversation with Nana has taken a turn for the outrageous. Oh, Shugo, don't look at me like that. It's the truth, plain and simple. It's all recorded in these documents. She smacks the sheaf of papers. They reported that the power itself was actually very slight, and she couldn't endure it when it was put to the actual use. Furthermore, Yura-kun became psychologically unstable from the effects of the experiments. I recall what Keiichiro had told me 1 month ago. Yura was sent back to us after the research facility closed down. By that time, she was already broken beyond all hope of salvation. She'd cry, scream, howl, and vomit over and over again. It took over half a year before she started to settle down. Deemed useless, her mind in ruins, she was returned to the Kozukis. However, her power had caught the eye of a person in that facility. Nana glances over at me. Arashima-san, right? Exactly. Even after the war had ended and the organization was disbanded, she hadn't forgotten about Yura-kun. He came upon the idea of using her power to take Senri into his own hands. A power that lets her see into another person's heart just through touch. He was the perfect bait for the cult leader. That's when he decided to come to Zushi and squirrel her away from the Kozuki family. Things were still pretty messed up from the war at that time. No matter what kind of coercive techniques he employed, they'd probably never be uncovered. And the rest, as they say, is history. The number of Senri's followers increased, just as Inspector Arashima had planned. However, that's when Ako Akuma started his violent rampage. And that's where Nana stops. And thus concludes my knowledge regarding the bizarre serial murder cases that happened in Ueno. Well, holy fuck, that was nothing if not long-winded. Her speech finished, Nana stands there with a smug smile of satisfaction. An oppressive silence descends upon the room. Everybody's gaze is focused on the girl sitting in her bed. However... Wait a second, Nana. I finally break the silence. There's a part in your story that doesn't sit right with me. Oh? She acts like she's been expecting me to say something like that. Nana narrows her eyes with glee and waits for my question. There are matters that need clarification. That's right, the person I rescued that night at Senri's training facility was Kozuki Yura. I have to accept that. After all, she's sitting right here in front of me. But the thing is, who the heck was the girl they found in the mountains behind Senri's temple? Shigusa Tokiko told me that Akuo Hikuma had killed Yura and buried her back there. Come on, Shugo. Are you going senile? The answer is as plain as the nose on your face. Nana shrugs, amazed. 3 locations, 3 girls. Just go through them one by one. Go through them. Yura, who should have been dead, appeared in front of me as Kazuna. Kazuna, who was about to be murdered by Senri cultists, was rescued from the training facility. Which means that... Still don't... It was the girl Akuo used as the leader's body double. So some random person? Bingo. That's the right answer, Shugo. She nods. I find it hard to believe that Shigusa Tokiko lied to me back then, though. Shigusa-kun was probably mistaken. Even though she was high-ranking, she was just a tool used by Akuo Akuma. She wasn't informed of most of the cult's secrets. She saw the body double Akuo had prepared for Yura-kun and misinterpreted his plan. She thought he was going to make his puppet the leader and take control of the cult for himself. Now that she mentions it, I do remember Shigusa Tokiko not knowing about Arashima-san and telling me that she hadn't seen the leader recently. She probably made a mistake when she saw the girl that had been killed. She thought that the real leader had been killed and the fake had survived. That confirmed the suspicion she had been harboring against the church. I think back to what happened that day, and the way I felt that something was out of place. Well, if that's the case, something just doesn't seem right. We're making some kind of critical mistake here. If that's the case, I look up at Nana. Who killed Shigusa Tokiko then? It was Yura-kun, naturally. Nana replies without a shred of doubt. Inspector Arashima was always in the shadows controlling everything. No one aside from Akuo or Yura could have done it. You're wrong. That's impossible. I'm shouting before I realize what I'm doing. Don't you get it, Nana? Yura's blind. I should know that best of all, after having slept with her so many times 7 years ago. There's no way she would be able to kill somebody and then make it look like a suicide, right? However. Well, that puts us in an awkward situation. Nana laughs, seemingly untroubled at all, despite what she just said. Well, how would you explain this then? She pulls out the notebook that she found earlier inside Yura's room. That's Yura's diary, right? You said it yourself just a few moments ago. Shugo. Oh, wait a minute. How could she write a diary? Oh, fuck. Yeah, you did. Fuck, even I didn't think about that. Yeah, how could she write if she's blind? Nana breathes a deep sigh. She opens up the notebook and shows me what's inside. Do you really think a blind person could write such perfect-looking characters? The entire page is covered in delicate, beautiful writing. I feel like my legs are going to collapse underneath me. If what she showed me is real, then the Yura I saw during those days was... That's right, Shugo. Yura-kun's blindness is a sham. Nana's words ring in my ears as I stand there in shock. Man, there's another fucking twist. There's just twists on top of twists here. That means you've... I look at the girl on the bed. You've been deceiving me this entire time? Why would Yura do such a thing? Well, why wouldn't she? She's kind of been portrayed as being a little bit crazy. Well, actually really crazy. She just sits there, not saying a word. Not through much fault of her own, though, to be fair. She was kind of... Her mind was kind of fucked with by scientists. Shugo, you're being too self-conscious here. At that time, Yura-kun wasn't trying to deceive you or anything. Nana ends up being the one to explain things. She hid her eyes and pretended to be blind because she had something she wanted to hide. It was the cursed mark the villagers whispered about. It showed up quite clearly in her eyes. Mark? It's the word she mentioned earlier, the proof of the curse laid upon the Kozuki family. You little bitch! I can't believe you even... His voice heavy with bitterness, Keiichiro glares daggers at Nana. She completely ignores him, raises her voice lyrically, and continues. Well then, Yura-kun, if you're going to insist your Kozuki Kazuna to the bitter end, why don't you take off those bandages for us, huh? If my deductions are correct, underneath will be definitive proof that you are indeed Kozuki Yura. Yura still doesn't react. Sis, Kazuna steps forward and addresses her sister in a hoarse voice. Please, I just want to know the truth. Keiichiro makes a face and averts his eyes. Underneath those bandages is proof of the abominable past he's tried to hide. His betrayal of his own daughter in order to protect himself, his own shriveled heart, obsessed with conforming to society. Who'd want others to see such things? Yura just keeps right on smiling. This is irritating. Toji breaks the silence, her tone all business. She had been leaning against the wall, coolly watching everything unfold, but now she pushes herself upright. It's a waste of time to drag this out any longer. Just pull them off her. Let me do it. She casually strolls toward the bed. Toji, wait! I quickly grab her by the shoulder and pull her back. This is something I should do. 7 years ago, on that fateful day, if my failure to grant her wishes resulted in her madness, then I share an equal part of the blame. I have to end this, with my own hands. After staring into my face for a while, Toji says, "Whatever, do as you like," and returns to her spot in the corner of the room. Now, Yura. I approach the girl sitting atop the bed. Yes? She responds to my voice. The edges of her mouth soften after Yura tilts her head questioningly. I want to know the truth as well. I continue. Please, let me remove your bandages. Yura lets out a small sigh. But then, sure, if that is what you desire. She smiles and turns to face me. Okay. I nod and grab her bandages. There's nothing unusual underneath, just a charming, beautiful face. I hear somebody behind me gulp. I knew this couldn't go on forever, but still, She opens her eyes. Yura? Her own gray eyes stare straight into mine. Yep. A genetic anomaly resulting in discoloration. That is the true nature of her cursed mark. Oh. I thought she was actually blind. Usually that means that they're blind when the eyes are discolored like that. Nana's words echo inside my half-dazed brain. She will bear this mark her entire life. As the cursed child, she received no love from her family. That's why she chose to cast aside her own identity. Oh my gosh. The childish stirrings of jealousy gave rise to foolish accusations, which in turn transformed into tales of a curse that got circulated around. It warped her life so much that it caused her to go mad. Nana stops and shrugs. But if that's the case, what about the fact that Yura's eyes were injured when we found her in Senri's training facility? Nana nods in response to my question. It was the obvious thing for her to do. The mark is proof that she's Kozuki Yura. If she wanted to live as Kazuna, she'd have to destroy her own eyes. Jesus, she was willing to go pretty far for that. But the thing is... Yura suddenly pipes up softly. I failed. Huh? A gentle smile spreads across her face. Her slender body begins to tremble as though she's trying to hold something back. I steeled myself up and plunged the knife into my eyes. It hurt so bad. I was so scared I thought I was going to go insane. I tried my best to get deep in there. The thought alone sends a chill up my spine. Imagine a girl alone in a dark room driving a shaking knife into her own eyes. The pain and fear she felt at that moment. Her despair and loneliness, knowing that it was her only choice. They're not things we could possibly hope to understand. Yura. She gently closes her eyes. I couldn't do it. I couldn't push the knife in all the way and destroy my eyes completely. Everything's pointless so long as I bear this mark upon my eyes. Tears flow out from her closed eyes. What a bunch of rubbish. Toji's cold voice rings out from alongside the wall. You wanted to escape from your own fate and blindly live someone else's life. That's just not acceptable under any circumstances. In the end, you gave in to fate because you were weak. That's all there is to it. That's a pretty cold-blooded way of judging, though Toji's had to overcome her share of obstacles since she was born, as well. Her quiet yet strong presence causes a tense silence to fall over the room. Well, I'm not sure what to say. The words are practically overflowing out of my brain right now, but I can't force myself to speak up. However... The awkward silence is broken by a harsh laugh. You think your convenient little explanation even comes close? Yura screams, leaping out of her bed. Fighting against fate? There's no way something like that's possible. My fate was sealed the moment I was born, and it was all because the color of my eyes was different. And that's why you're weak. Toji's scornful laughter cuts Yura off. That's why you don't give a shit about taking people's lives? Ridiculous. I've had enough of your spoiled attitude. You brought this misfortune upon yourself. It has nothing to do with the environment in which you were born. You leave yourself no room for pity. Please stop this! Kazuna jumps in between them as though she's trying to protect Yura. You're wrong, Toji-san. My sister is not to blame. Tears ooze out of the corners of Kazuna's eyes. You... Yura looks up, surprised. I know it might be too late for me to say this now, but... Sis, I had no idea you were suffering this whole time. I had no idea. The tears flow freely down her cheeks. I'm so sorry, sis. I know you probably won't forgive me that easily. But I'll try my hardest to make up for all the suffering you had to go through up until now. So... Kazuna searches for the right words to say. You're not alone anymore, sis. That's all I wanted to tell you. Yura watches Kazuna, a strangely sober expression on her face. And... Nana-san. She ignores Kazuna's words and instead addresses Nana, who's retired to a corner of the room. So what are you going to do now that you've exposed who I really am? Hand me over to the police, or will you overlook all the things I've done? Her tone seems glib, almost cheerful. Let's see. I'm not terribly interested in social justice. My role was just to make Shugo open his eyes. So why don't you direct that question to Kazuna-kun? She's your only little sister, the person who hated you so much you tried to kill her. Shugo and the others probably won't object to whatever choice she makes.
Hold it! What are you trying to pull without my permission?
Oh, shut up. Your behavior only makes things worse. You have no say in this.
What?
Well, Kazuna-kun, go ahead and choose. We'll approve of whatever decision you arrive at. Yura's wide-open eyes are fixated upon Kazuna, who's now completely flustered. After spending a while deep in thought, Kazuna finally opens her mouth to speak, wearing a troubled expression on her face. Sis. She stares straight back at Yura as she speaks. Let's go to the police together. Please, atone for your crimes. Kazuna. That good-natured Kazuna will protect Yura and forgive her of all wrongdoing, is what I had thought. But it looks like my preconceptions were overturned. However. As Yura stares down at the ground, a fierce smile forms upon her lips. So that's how it all turns out. Even as you tell me you won't leave me. Her gray eyes narrow into slits. In the end, you cast me aside. No, you're wrong. I'll always be waiting for you. Kazuna yells back in earnest. Tears pouring out of her eyes, she fumbles with her words as she makes a desperate plea to Yura's heart. I'll wait and wait for you to come back to me after you've made up for what you've done. Do it with your head held high so you can live on. Do it so we can find happiness together. Kazuna. I mean, all she could really do is like plead insanity or something, but I don't, considering the time period we're in, I don't know if that's going to work. She'd probably just be locked up anyway. So, this really wouldn't turn out well either way. Like, if she went to the police, she'd just be locked up for pretty much for the rest of her life. So, no matter what way you look at this scenario, it's just not gonna end well for her. Sis. Please. Yura stands stock still, her eyes still downcast. An eternity of silence follows. Right. So we can be happy together. Everybody's attention is focused on Yura as she smiles. I can't even imagine how wonderful that would be if it really came true. It'll definitely happen. I'll do anything so that it'll come true. The sisters' eyes meet. Okay. I'll atone for my crimes. Will you accompany me, Kazuna? Sis. Everybody inside the room breathes a collective sigh of relief. Yura. I sigh as well. I'd grown tense without realizing it. You're really going to give yourself up? She offers the slightest of nods before looking back down at the ground.
Hold it! If you do that, our family name will...
You old fart. Didn't I say that you didn't have the right to speak? Nana kicks Keitaro in his butt for all she's worth, as he's standing there with his hands on Yura. He falls forward and tumbles onto the floor. You realize that your stinginess had a part to play in this whole tragedy, right? Do you actually comprehend that?
You bitch!
And he raises his voice to protest. Father, please stop saying these embarrassing things. I just don't understand how you can value the family name more than your own daughter. If you say anything else to make Sis suffer, I'm gonna sever my ties with you, Father.
Kazuna.
Still seated on the floor, Keitaro looks up at her with absolute shock. There's not a shred of his former dignity left. Come on, you're going too far. With the tension from earlier gone, a wry smile finds its way onto my face. I'm sorry about that. I got a bit worked up there. She blushes in embarrassment. Seeing her like that makes me start to think. It'll take an unimaginably long time for Yura to atone for her crimes. And once she's able to return to her daily life, well, if she even is, things won't be peaceful and quiet for her. Prejudice from society, criticism, the wounds in her heart. The relatives of the victims probably won't just sit idly by and let Yura off the hook. I can't even imagine how much pain and suffering Yura will have to endure before it's all over. Yeah, I think she gave herself up a little bit too easily there. Yet, a thought crosses my mind. That if Kazna is there by her side, someday Yura will find salvation, just as Kazna has wished for. One day, we'll all live happily together. Yeah, that's a little bit too optimistic an outlook, I think. Especially for the type of game we're playing. Or, well, reading. With our heads held high. We'll live on. That's the naive vision of the future. Yep, my foolish mind's cooked up. But little did I realize that the real tragedy was just beginning. Uh-oh.
Yura.
Keiichiro's voice carries a twinge of suspicion with it. He's staring directly at Kazuna's back. Then, Kazna! Get away from there! Oh shit. Don't move. It's all over in a split second. Toji clicks her tongue in disgust. Yura has a fruit knife pressed against Kazuna's neck. It gleams dully. Good, good. I'm glad you all understand. No moving. Even a cheap little blade like this is more than sufficient to kill somebody. Sis? It looks like Kazuna still hasn't grasped what's going on. Grating laughter escapes from Yura's mouth after she sees how her sister's reacting. I'm sorry, Kazuna. I appreciate the invitation, but I'm afraid I'll have to pass. I don't need that kind of happiness. The mere thought of living with you makes me sick. Yura keeps whispering word after word into a confused Kazuna's ear. You'll do anything for me. That's what you said, right? Sorry, but what I want is something that you won't be able to arrange. Or rather, you'd just be getting in the way. Sis! Yura slowly looks up. There's only one thing I want. She looks straight at me. What do you want me to do? Her gray eyes stare straight into mine. Shugo-sama. Ever since you started coming to this mansion 1 week ago, and I started living out every day as Kazuna, that was my happiness. Yura doesn't respond to me. Instead, she continues her lilting speech with her eyes narrowed in rapture, still holding Kazuna hostage. You came here every day to see Kazuna. You spoke to Kazuna, held her hand tenderly, hugged Kazuna, delivered gentle kisses to her lips. I was so happy that I thought I would go crazy, really. Nana-san was right, you know. I do possess a certain power. She's referring to the ability Arashima-san discovered, the power to read people's minds just by touching them. That's how I knew. Even though you harbored some misgivings in your heart, you still loved me as Kazuna. Kazuna's eyes widened in surprise. She turns to regard me with a questioning look. However, I couldn't find it in me to respond. Hell, Yura might be telling it true. Maybe I was crushing my own feelings. I continued to ignore all the warning sirens in my head. All I did was think about loving her without even trying to consider anything else. I was afraid to know the real answer. But this girl ended up surviving and appearing in front of you again. The hatred burns in her eyes as Yura glares at her sister. If I go to the police, you're going to start loving this girl as the real Kazuna. Yura smiles. I'm never going to let that happen. Sis. Kazuna's eyes cloud over with tears once more. Okay, if that's the case, what are you going to do? It's obvious. If this girl dies, I'll be the only one whom you can love as Kazuna. If that's the case. Yura's right hand twitches and a trickle of blood wells up from Kazuna's neck. In that instant, Stop it! My body acts on instinct, performing a series of actions that was drilled into me during my detective days. Oh shit. Jesus. I pull out the handgun from my pocket, aim it above Yura's head, and fire off a warning shot. Shocked, Yura freezes. It's the gun I got from Toji when we infiltrated Senri. I failed to return it to her, since I hadn't seen her up until this point. Stop it, Yura. I keep the gun pointed at Yura while I talk to her. You're Kozuki Yura. That won't change even if you kill Kazuna. I entreat directly to those gray eyes. I can't love you as Kazuna. Yura averts her eyes from me and remains silent. But then... may I say something? Her cheerful voice seems totally out of place. Shugo-san, please shoot me. What? Speechless, all I can do is stare into Kazuna's face. She wears a calm, quiet smile, even though there's a knife pressed against her throat. No need to hold back. Bang! Here, or here perhaps. Completely composed, she points toward the left side of her chest. What are you talking about? There's no way I could do something crazy like that. Yeah, I guess you're right. It is rather foolish, huh? But you know, I'm an idiot, so that's all I can think of to help my sister. Kazuna turns around to look at Yura, an embarrassed grin on her face. Because she's crying so hard, you know? Kazuna traces her fingers gently along Yura's cheek. Wow. So she'd even sacrifice herself and have him kill her just so her sister can be happy. That's pretty fucking... Damn. That's pretty fucked up. She emits a primal scream. I've lived long enough. Kazuna continues in an indifferent tone. My family in Kanda is really poor, but Mom's always been kind to me. Before I knew it, I'd achieved my childhood dream of standing up on a big stage. I enjoyed each and every day. I feel like it's more than I deserved. Kazuna closes her eyes and gently hugs the arms encircling her neck. If my death can grant your wish, sis, then I'm okay with that. She flashes us a wan smile. What are you talking about? That's pointless. Oh, Shugo-san, I'm sorry for suddenly asking you to do something so strange. That means I'll make you a murderer, huh? I'm really sorry about that. Kazuna smiles, slightly embarrassed again. You really are an idiot. Why are you apologizing over something like that? Yeah, you're right. Kazuna puffs her chest out proudly. I thought it'd be nice to be killed by you, Shugo-san, since I'm an idiot and all. If you do it, you'll never forget me, right? Please, Shugo-san, will you fulfill this final selfish request of mine? She slowly opens her mouth and says, Please make my sister happy. But then... Don't be ridiculous. As she grinds her teeth together, Yura grits out in a harsh whisper. You think that'll make me happy? Sis? How far must you go? A hoarse growl escapes from between Yura's lips. Until you're tired of tormenting me. And in the very next instant... Oh shit! Shugo, stop her! Kazuna! Everybody starts shouting at the same time. As Yura raises her arm to strike, Toji and Nana leap toward her to stop her, while Keiichiro just stands there with his mouth hanging open. I see the blade gleaming as it's about to be plunged into Kazuna's neck. I see Kazuna looking fearlessly into her sister's face. And then... I don't think I have to voice that. What the fuck? I see Yura sobbing like an abandoned child. And that's why I... pull the trigger. Oof. Bang, motherfucker. Well... I have to wonder if that killed her. Oh. Okay. Well, there's more after that. I know there is actually after credits. But yeah. Way better ending than the normal ending. The normal ending was bullshit. This was way better in my opinion. There was actually a climax. We found out who the real culprit was. We found out what was happening with Senri. We got some, albeit pretty fucked up, closure. We got some closure with Yura. But yeah, so we'll probably find out what happens afterward. There, like I said, there's after credits. So, but it ends on like some pretty crazy fucking cliffhanger. Like, you know, if you like read this and thought that was the end, I'm pretty sure you'd be basically on the edge of your seat, being like, what? Is that it? You know. But yeah, there's definitely more. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this playthrough. This was pretty short in comparison to Car no Shoujo. I honestly like this a little bit better than Car no Shoujo, just because I like the characters better. I like Kazuna better as like a main heroine. Shugo is about the same as Reiji. I would say he has maybe a little bit more of a personality than Reiji does. But I still like Car no Shoujo. I think Car no Shoujo is great, but I think this is even better. Next we'll probably be doing Car no Shoujo the second episode, which is obviously a sequel to Car no Shoujo. But that might not be for a while. I still have other playthroughs, visual novel playthroughs I need to finish. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this visual novel. If it was your first time maybe watching somebody play the visual novel, or just watching a read through of it, or if you've played it before, if you've ever heard of it, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, the Innocent Gray visual novels, like the Carno Shoujo stuff, they're pretty interesting, but they're very dark and they're very bleak and graphic, so, and oftentimes depressing. I feel like this is kind of different in that it's pretty depressing, but it does kind of have some, surprisingly quite a few upsides to it. Like this actually has without spoiling anything, I'll say this has a surprisingly, well, kind of, maybe not really happy, but more like more of a bittersweet type of ending, I guess. Ellipsis. My train's headed toward Ueno Station. The conductor's voice echoes down the corridors. It looks like we're due to arrive at any moment now. I lift my head from the back of my seat, stifling a yawn. It's just another weekday afternoon. There aren't many people riding the train at this hour, so I don't even hear the quiet voices of people conversing. After spending 10 long days locked up, the fatigue has found a way to build up inside me. I pretty much fell asleep as soon as I sat down. As I rub my eyes, I can see the scenery whipping by through the window. Spring has nearly come. Most of the snow covering the city has melted away. I'm finally back. This is no time to be reminiscing. The spring scenery speeding past the window gradually slows to a crawl. Here I am, Ueno Station. I encounter a familiar face as soon as I exit the station. She stands alone in the center of the crowded plaza. Hey, I raise my hand in greeting. Ah! Welcome back, Shugo-san. Kazuki Kazuna smiles as she greets me. Kazuna had used the time in between rehearsals to come out here and welcome me back. Do you still have free time? It's been a while. Want to go for a walk? Sure. I'll keep you company. Thus, we walk off together. Oh, by the way, Kazuna. Yes? Did anybody actually think that she was going to die? I mean, she shows up in Carno Shoujo. She's obviously not going to die. How's everybody been doing as of late? However, as for Yura, I don't know if I could say the same thing. Oh, Toji-san's been busy as ever. Whenever I see her, she always rushes off immediately, saying she has some business to attend to. Well, that's just how things are for her. She only came to visit me a single time, too. Oh, Nana-san's been hanging around Toji-san quite a lot recently as well. A lot of interesting stuff happens when I'm with her, she said. I wish that sister of mine would stop meddling around and getting herself into trouble. I sigh and look at Kazuna. He has two crazy sisters to deal with. Or is it a crazy sister and a cousin? Crazy cousin, crazy sister. How's the madam and her crew doing? Everything going alright for them? Oh, yeah, I went to visit them a little while ago. Nothing's changed. She said you could give her a holler whenever you were in a pinch, and they'd help you out. Man, that sounds just like Madame Ojaku. She's always there for her friends. Oh, and... Kazuna looks down at the ground. Sis still hasn't opened her eyes yet. At that moment, my bullet struck Yura on the right side of her chest. Both Yura and Kazuna had frozen in place. Yura, however, eventually toppled to the ground. A fountain of fresh blood spurted out as she howled in pain. By the time I ran up to her, Yura's face was already pale, and she lost consciousness shortly thereafter. Yura, already weak to begin with, was transported to the hospital. She hasn't regained consciousness ever since. So yeah, basically she's in a coma. I see, so she hasn't. Something weird happened, Shugo-san. Ever since that day, Father's been acting all timidly. He took time off from work, and he's been spending all his time with my sister at the hospital. Wow, seriously? So it's a lot like the father, Yumiko's dad from Grisai no Kijitsu. Like, he was an arrogant dickhead, kind of like Keiichiro, and then he, only after tragedy, like, you know, like, he learned what all the shit his daughter's been going through and everything, did he realize how much of an asshole he was, and he's like, oh, I've turned over a new leaf. He's also become more accepting of my acting career. You're free to do as you please, he told me. What a complete turnaround. Oh, come to think of it, I heard from Toji that you were headed to a theater group overseas, right? Apparently, a director who saw one of her recent productions was enthralled by her talent. He invited her to refine her skills with an American theatrical group. So it's basically the same as the normal ending in that regard. That's a perfect opportunity for you, right? Since your dad's not opposed to it anymore, you can go and study acting without any reservations. Yeah. Kazuna hesitates for a few moments, then looks back up after seemingly working up her resolve. But you know, even though I've been waiting for this for so long, I'm thinking about turning down their offer. Huh? I blurt out an idiotic-sounding voice before I can stop myself. Kazna once told me that her dream was to go abroad and learn the art of theater straight from the source. Then why on earth would she turn them down? I gave it a lot of thought, and I'd like to be by my sister as much as possible. Besides, I'm satisfied. Kazna smiles. I've been allowed to do what I want, so... Her words bear a strong resemblance to the things she had said to an angry Yura on that fateful day. That's why I'm not sure what to do. Yeah, so in this one, she doesn't go overseas. I felt that way ever since that day. I was unable to protect the people important to me, and to save Kazna, I had to point my gun at Yura. And now they're both hurt and suffering. If only I had realized how they had felt sooner, I'm sure things would have ended differently. I should be the one to bear the blame for all this. I'm the one who should have disappeared from their lives. My very existence alone brings sorrow on them. I've always harbored those kinds of thoughts inside. However, don't do it, Kazna, is what I end up saying. That's not what Yura would have wanted. Huh? Do you remember what she said that day? You think that'll make me happy? Yura was always struggling in the darkness on her own, without anyone to help her. She probably needed someone to hate in order to sustain herself and find the strength to keep on living. That person ended up being someone who was born in the same environment, but through a slight twist of fate received happiness instead. That person was you, Kazna. I can't. And that's why, though she hated you, she also admired you. She wanted to be you so badly she was willing to cast everything else aside. And that's why, I continue, you can't stop now. So that you'll still be the object of her hatred on the day she wakes up. And so that she'll still admire you. But if that's the case, then... If I travel overseas, then Sis will be all alone again. Well, she's in a fucking coma. I don't think it matters either way. Don't worry. You can leave her to me. I choose words that will convey my resolve toward Kazna, who faces me with her brow furrowed anxiously. I'll stay by her side until she wakes up, until you come back. I don't know if a guy like me is really qualified to say something like that. Go without a heavy heart. Go and make your dreams come true. I don't think this counts as atonement. But I've already decided. I'm never going to run away again. No matter what kind of grief awaits me in the future, I will continue to protect what's important to me. Shugo-san. Kazna looks down and whispers. Do you think my sister will forgive me if I do this? Who knows? I shrug casually. Huh? Kazna looks up at me, surprised. Unlike Yura, I don't possess any sort of special powers. I have no idea what people think deep down inside. There's no way I'd know whether Yura will forgive you or not. But you've got all the time in the world now. We'll wait as long as it takes, until Yura's wounds heal. All we can do is have faith and wait. Wait, huh? After muttering that softly, she looks back down at the ground. It looks like Kazna's pondering something. And at some point, our journey has taken us to the foot of Senri's gate. We stare at the steps leading up to Senri's temple. That despicable cult full of criminals. Senri crumbled shortly after its scandals were exposed for all of society to see. There's no longer anyone up there, at the end of the stairway. All that's left is the burned-out ruin of a temple, a dark reminder of the tragedy that took place there. To me, it's proof that the murders have finally come to an end. Those are the thoughts that flit through my brain as I stand there staring up at the gate, whose surroundings are already cloaked in the verdant greenery of spring. Shugo-san! It happens out of the blue. Kazna? Kazna leaps into my arms and hugs me forcefully. I'm gonna go, and she whispers into my ear hoarsely. I'll study my hardest and chase my dreams so my sister will always have someone to look up to. Oh, so she goes there in this ending too. Okay. Sure. I'll leave Sis to you. Shugo-san, you take good care of her until the day I come back. Okay, I got it. She then pulls away from me and says, Well, Shugo-san, I'll be going soon. Please don't cheat on me since you're going to be all alone with Sis. You dummy, there's no way I'd... I was kidding. Kazna. Seeing her confident, smiling face fills me with joy. I know she has some dark shadows left to wrestle with, but those shining eyes of hers definitely haven't changed. You're right. Now it's my turn. Until Yura wakes up, and until Kazna achieves her dreams and returns. Hell, I don't know how much time that'll take. I don't know if there's a guarantee that happiness awaits us at the end of this long road. However, just like how Yura waited endlessly in the darkness, all we can do is keep on believing. During these boundless, uneventful days. And one day, we can all live happily ever after, right? No. Nobody has happiness. You will not receive happiness. You will receive depression and sadness. You bet. Nope. The writer says, nope. I'm gonna stomp on your happiness. Shit all over it. Well, that was something, alright. I hope you guys enjoyed the playthrough, and, until I get around to playing Carno Shoujo the second episode, which, like I said, might not be for a long while, I will see you all later.